Have you ever been called a leftover woman?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
No matter how excellent you are, how capable you are, in the larger society's mind, you're not as good as a man.
My name is Wei Tingting. I'm one of the feminists who get arrested before the International Women's Day.
We're in China, where women are experiencing unprecedented financial freedom. And since Mao founded the People's Republic of China in 1949, have enjoyed equal rights to men. Well, at least on paper.
Up until the Communist Revolution, women were pretty much considered property and their feet were tied. Then Mao, when breaking the norms of social class and gender, declared that women carry half the sky, and gender equality was written into the constitution.
I would always admit that I'm a beneficiary of the socialist women's liberation.
Remember how American women were empowered to join the workforce in the 1940s when the men left for war, and then sent back to the kitchen in the 50s when they returned? Back in the days of Mao, there wasn't enough manpower to build the new China, so women joining the workforce were celebrated as iron girls.
These days, however, feminists are being detained, and for almost a decade, unmarried women older than 27 have been called the derogatory term "shangnu," which means leftover women. We're here to find out why women's social status in China is experiencing a backlash.
Some Chinese parents are so worried of their daughters being referred to as leftovers that they've taken the matter of finding them a spouse into their own hands.
We're on our way to one of China's many wedding markets. We're in one of Beijing's many public parks, and today in this one there's a wedding market on where parents come to advertise their unmarried sons and daughters. These types of markets happen a lot, several times a week, all over China.
We met up with a local matchmaker, Mr. Yang.
这个地方什么时候开始我不太清楚，但是几年前就有这个，几年前一直就有，但是就是这些人呢，这些人都是自发组织起来的，哎，对对，不是，我这里有我这里男孩女孩都有，这里有好多都是，你看，
Oh wow.
都是女孩子很多，有资料又有电话，就是他们基本情况有电话，都是孩子的家长留下的。我这里还有好多照片，应该说是很漂亮吧。
So she's born in 1980, so she's actually 35. Is it difficult for her to find a husband at that age?
很困难了，不管他长得多好，这个男同志啊，男孩子找女孩啊，他的条件我总结出个经验，就是什么呢？他都是找年轻未婚，长得好，这三个条件缺一不可。是这样，刚才那个老太太就是他的女儿，1.79米的个子又太高，哎，那就不行了。女孩现在咱北京市找对象，女孩1.65米，身高是最合适的。所以现在呢，女孩子在北京女孩找对象，那确实是应当是很费劲的。
Although China's one-child policy, which was introduced in the late 1970s, was recently revoked, for parents, it has meant that an unmarried son or daughter is the end of the family lineage. That's why it's seen as a parent's final duty in life to see their children married off.
对好多家长，这是一件大事儿，心里惦记着。如果找不到，那心里真着急。有的家长睡不着觉啊，就跟我打电话，他们就给我打电话，说什么呢？说啊，严老师，我一宿半宿坐着。
Is it possible to make an ad for me and see what happens?
那行，你等一等啊，我跟他说两句啊。哎，您怎么着？他们等一等。
我是男孩。
多大？7、8。行，你说。
82到84最好。我跟你讲，因为他们的你们现在也周细一点吧，他们的这样的那个月份跟年份的相配，晓得吧？
您的想法，我跟你说，您的想法啊。
Finding a match is not easy, because the one-child policy has also created an extreme gender imbalance. Because sons were preferred, many would-be daughters were aborted, meaning there are over 20 million more men than women in China.
For a long time, women they experience terrible pain, personal pains, because of the one-child policy, a lot of forced abortions, that kind of situation. Government paid attention to the negative consequences of this one-child policy only when research shows, statistics shows there's a terrible sex ratio imbalance. Female infanticide was not a concern of the government, but men cannot find wife is the concern of the government.
Despite the real issue being the leftover men, it's still the women who are berated for leaving their villages to try their luck in the cities, where they can marry up or pursue a career, leaving millions of poor working men unable to find a spouse.
Do you think I have good options to find a boyfriend?
找是能找，我估计是能找，因为咱们现在改革开放了嘛，就很方便。现在就是说，你能在北京生活，你习惯不习惯呢？是吧？
So basically, at these markets, you usually don't come yourself. It's usually your parents, and often you don't even know that your parents are here advertising you. And you need to put your height, your weight, usually your date of birth, and what kind of spouse you're looking for. Is the age of a man important?
男孩子一般呢，年龄上也很重要，但是总的来讲，男孩子的年龄大一些，应该啊，女孩年龄小一些。
And is it important that the man earns more money?
男孩子经济条件是重要一方面啊，另外还得有北京有住房，就是在本市有住房啊，有身高。 年龄还得有经济基础，这几方挺重要的。
What kind of man are you looking for your daughter?
身高合适，有独立住房，有稳定工作，人品好，身体健康。
多人所爱的麻烦。
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
他多大了
32。
This guy wanted me to stand up, and I'm too tall also. People seem a bit confused as to why I'm here, and I'm pretty weirded out too, because I'm being judged on completely superficial things. Sitting here in a dinosaur park with plastic dinosaurs growling and people dancing and doing weird things.
I got the feeling that it was because of the shortage of wives that the term leftover women was coined, to pressure girls to marry young and stigmatize the women who choose to pursue a career. We wanted to find out what a day in the life was like for one of China's so-called leftover women. So we met up with a young professional in Beijing.
Actually, I'm just a TOEFL speaking teacher and listening teacher.
Was this like your aspiration? Like, was this a job that you always wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, I like teaching because I like help people. Yeah, you know, it's just like two-way street. Yeah, I can teach them something and they can just teach me something in a different way. Yeah.
It seems like everywhere you walk in China, you're just surrounded by all these ads of like pretty young girls in wedding dresses.
Yeah, I feel like it's not everybody's so lucky enough to get the one they really want. And I feel like the leftover ladies, I don't feel pity for them or for us because we really know what we want. Okay, welcome to my home.
Thank you. Oh wow, so this is your room?
Yeah, right. It's got a little bit messy, you know, girls' rooms, you know.
And have any of these girls like experienced any sort of comments or difficulties because they're like not sort of weak and frail, but because they're actually like career oriented.
Yeah, right. There are. And then we were like called like, you know, tough women, like 女汉子 in China.
Is that another derogatory term? So it's not just leftover women, you also have tough girl.
Right.
Is another derogatory term?
Exactly. These are two really famous popular terms in China.
Wow, they really don't like tough girls in China.
Sometimes I feel like it's kind of like unfair, but we are quite okay about it. We are still live the way we like. We don't care too much about what other people think. Yeah, we are all leftover ladies. Oh my god.
Can we do the one that tells you your age?
Oh yeah. Wait, analyzing. I'm even older than you.
That's good, right?
Yeah, right.
It's a good age.
It's a good age.
Being in your 30s is like being in your 20s all over again.
Okay.
Look at all these leftover ladies.
This one's pretty cute.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah.
You know what's ironic to me? In China, the real issue is the leftover men, because there are so many more men than women.
No leftover men.
But they don't label the men leftover.
Yeah, right.
Is there any sort of hope or expectation in your family that at your age, say, you should be sort of having your own family or anything like that?
Yeah, like always, right? Like always, this is like big issue for me, like as 26 years old girl. Yeah. The other day, I just celebrated my own birthday. I called my grandpa, and he just said something like, you know, cliche again, like, hey, you're getting old. Yeah, I was like, seriously? I'm only 26. And then he said, come on, go find a reliable boyfriend. Oh, you're not, you know, you don't have to set your bar too high because you're not that good enough. Yeah, and he's just using this strategy. He wants me to live a good life, right? But I feel like what's different is that I feel like finding boyfriend is not only issue in my life.
It felt strange to me that someone as young as Nicole should feel pressure to get married. But she's lucky, as her family is still relatively understanding. But we heard of cases where girls have been shunned by their families for refusing to tie the knot. This mentality is so ingrained in today's China that the wedding and dating industry is thriving and predicted to soon surpass $300 million a year. We tried out another one of China's many and increasingly popular match-finding options.
Today is Chinese Valentine's Day, and we're at an amusement park where there's going to be a speed dating event taking place, and I'm going to find out what the details are for registering, but it seems like people will have to wear paper bags.
The speed dating event was organized by a matchmaking agency infamous for a TV ad aimed at so-called leftover women, which sparked public outcry on Chinese social media.
见着我，他只会说：“结婚了吧？我不能再慢慢挑了，我要去百合网实体店。外婆，我结婚了。”
刚才我看这个海狮表演，确实挺精彩的。
Okay, so it seems like all the girls are told to stand on one side, and then the boys on the other.
你们在第一感觉下找到一位异性作为你今天的狂欢搭档。
I had a hard time believing that I could find Mr. Right, wearing a paper bag in a nautical-themed amusement park.
Oh, thank you, 谢谢. Hi, I'm Milan. Oh, you're from Inner Mongolia.
Yes.
I really want to go to Mongolia. Girls in China have a lot of pressure to get married before they're 27. Do you feel that pressure on you as well, being a guy?
家里边就是有时候催这件事儿，然后我觉得大多数都到这个年龄的时候，该有女朋友了。
What are girls usually looking for in a guy?
物质条件肯定有房子，有车。
Can we go horse riding in Mongolia?
Yes.
I was brought up on stage, blindfolded, and asked to pick a man.
好，换美人，来，刚才我们好美人。就这样的，在你那儿算长得好看的吗？
He's cute.
很可爱。完了，没啥可希望。那个，但是中国有句话， 粗柳簸箕细柳斗，世上谁嫌男人丑？这样的男的他老实不家，挣钱给你花，对吧？我们不看脸，没看今天都带着这个牛皮纸袋吗？
So I'm looking for somebody who'll make me laugh, and who's intelligent, and who reads a lot of books.
They clearly didn't get my criteria for what I was looking for in a partner.
Young men, they are also victims of this highly sexist gender norms. How to be a masculine man, what is successful masculine man, it's all related to money and a house and cars. If you don't have any possessions or any of these material goods, you are not a real man, and then you cannot marry any woman.
Having witnessed the gender norms in modern China, it was hard to imagine the days when strong working women were idolized. Back in the days of China's 1960s and 70s cultural revolution, Wang Zheng was a movie star of the era's revolutionary heroine films.
红英这姑娘，路线斗争觉悟比我高，到底是经过文化大革命锻炼出来的好青年呐！
我们贫下中农，骨头硬，坚决走毛主席指引的路。
So she has personal insight on ambitious women's drastic shift from being celebrated as iron girls to being denounced as leftover women.
In the socialist period, iron girl was a symbol of women's double liberation from gender and class hierarchies. From my childhood on, all the films portrayed revolutionary heroines, all strong women. Historically, women in China couldn't receive formal education, and you had no right to be in politics. It was the socialist revolution, especially the feminists in the social revolution, they fought very hard to sweep away that kind of mentality. But unfortunately, in the 1980s, it's revived.
The 1980s was China's reform period, during which former leader Deng Xiaoping opened up China to foreign investment.
After China embraced the global capitalism, people will see, oh wow, China, economic development is miracles everywhere, the GDP now, China ranked number 2, But most people did not pay attention to the other side of the story. That is the polarization of class. And also the gap between men and women has been increased drastically. The Iron Girls was the first target to be condemned in the 1980s. They turned the discourse around, naming these women as a symbol of how socialist women's liberation masculinized women. A lot of writings at the time were talking about the best way to retrieve or recover a woman's femininity is to be a good wife and a good mother. The brainwash is so powerful because they have the new media. They have all the billboards to show what is a happy life for a happy young wife. Don't try to aspire for a career. No matter how much successful you're in career, you will feel so empty in your heart if you cannot find a man in your life. So tons of this kind of stuff circulating in Chinese media, publications everywhere to trap excellent young women, competitive young women in marriage.
Despite the social pressure to marry young and women's pursuit of a career often frowned upon, more and more Chinese women refuse to buy into that social stigma.
Cities like Beijing and Shanghai are full of unmarried, successful career women. We're gonna go meet some of them from a group called Lean In Beijing to see how they feel about this whole concept of the leftover women.
Lean In Beijing was founded in 2012, inspired by Facebook Chief Operating Officer Sheryl Sandberg's book of the same name. They already have thousands of members across China. Nicole is one of them.
Please come in.
Great, thank you.
I think the role of this organization is to allow or to encourage, Chinese women to define what success is, what their goals and dreams are on their own terms. There is life after 30. I think many Chinese women are terrified of turning 30, and that, should they choose to pursue their careers, and even if society perceives them as left over, they can still live full and happy lives.
I feel like with Chinese people focus too much on age, right? And I love the leftover lady, this concept. I feel like it's a compliment. You are brave to be leftover ladies, and we are still wait for the good relationship. We are still hope for love, for our dreams, our career.
我们看到很多婚姻失败的案例，是因为太仓促了，太匆忙了。那个时候不了解自己，以及不了解对方。
From my experience with love relationships, that is pretty much the most unreliable thing that you can bank your future on. And the most reliable thing, surely, is having a career so that you can support yourself and your children no matter what happens. But what kind of issues have you all faced in your professional life that you bring here and talk about together?
女生就是更加细心，做的更加多。但是呢，男生呢，他是会跟领导比较会搞好关系，因为领导本身就是男士，可能一根烟就把这个关系就拉得很近，所以员工也会觉得非常的灰心，因为他就觉得说，他有一次他们甚至灰心的跟我说，我觉得女人其实不受教育蛮好的，因为我到了单位，除了混日子，我也没什么可以就是再上升的空间了。那我还不如就把我的精力放在我的家里，放在我的孩子身上。
So today's young women, they have all the resources. They were princesses in their one-child families, right? And they thought they could do everything. They used to be the center of the universe. But as soon as they graduate from school, they already experienced gender discrimination, and they thought, oh yeah, I can do everything. But now in the society, it's like, oh no, you are secondary citizen in this country. No matter how excellent you are, how capable you are, but in the larger society's mind, you're not as good as a man. But paradoxically, they also grew in a period they enjoyed much more resources. They were the center of their family, right? So it's a very paradoxical situation here. And you have to understand this paradox in order to understand the deep sense of frustration among this cohort of young women.
所以他们就是很多女性要在职场当中有一定的作为，或者说怎么一定作为，就是这个软实力很重要。因为有的时候如果你表现， you have to act like a woman， 但是你可以 think like a man。如果你很强势的话，你外表很强势的话，会让人
对，就是因为有朋友会说，你能不能稍微柔软一点？
In the social period, strong woman is good, positive, right? But pretty soon the term strong woman, 女强人, became derogatory. Women were afraid of being labeled as 女强人. So they tried to pretend to be, we are weak, we cannot do this, we cannot do that.
After the meeting, Nicole invited us for a night out.
So do you get your nails done often?
Yeah.
Do you think it's confusing for people that you do your nails, you like all these girly things, but then you and all the other lean-in girls are quite strong and tough? Yeah. Is that something that confuses people?
I feel like this is just conservative, stereotype. We're not supposed to be really capable or aggressive in the public place or workplace. But things have already changed. China nowadays is much better than before, more advanced.
Would you call yourself a feminist?
I don't think so. Yeah, I'm not a feminist. Feminists always just put yourself on the opposite side to the men, always fight with each other. I don't think that's a good thing. I mean, I think it's too strong. Mm-hmm.
The word feminist seems to have negative connotations in China. Even women who tick all the boxes for what a feminist is, like Nicole, will avoid this label. But feminism does still exist in China.
我却更认同我自己。女孩的身体又如何？我依然可以去爱姑娘，去做我真正的自己。 然后他就把他的手放在了我的大腿上，另一只手不住地摸我的头发，我吓坏了，一把推过他，再也不敢私下找他。因为他们怀了女胎，我们就往他们的肚子里打药，把刮勺伸进他们的子宫，用尽一切办法，只为了阻止一个女孩来到这个世界。
Being a politically active feminist in China is risky and can get you detained, but there are still people who do it. We're on our way to meet a feminist collective called Become, who are currently rehearsing a Chinese version of the Vagina Monologues. The Vagina Monologues.
夏天要垫那么厚的卫生巾，从屁股后面都能看出形状来。
我是个没有月经的女人。
What does it say on your shirt?
This is what feminism looks like.
Is feminism big in China?
我觉得现在好像存在两种女权，就是媒体上面就是有一种女权，其实是女人在男权社会下生存的方式，比方就其实那种很霸道的，是一种把男人放在要踩在脚下的，然后有很多人是认为这样的是女权，所以我们一提我是女权主义的时候，别人然后完了之后说哦不是，我觉得性别平等，他们就哦，但是你要真的跟他说我要求那个权，他就说你跟他说我要求的权，我觉得大家都没有人想放弃在嘴边的权利，然后真的说自己认同和别人都认同的，我觉得国内就是大陆可能有1000人。
That's insane. China has about a fifth of the world's women, and you have 1,000 feminists. So
但
it's kind of scary.
我觉得很正常，因为很多人在接受这个过程。
You've had friends who have been arrested by the police for doing feminist activity. Are you ever scared?
是的，我觉得当一个女权主义者不 risky， 你当一个行动者是 risky。如果今天你是换取争取别的权益，一样也是 risky 的，只要你有行动。
因为女权主义它一定是比如说和民主和就是要求民主，要求公平正义，以及要求思想的独立和自由是紧密的结合在一起的。这些东西如果说被意识形态所害怕的话，那么的确当一个女权主义者是危险的。就是我觉得这是一个就是公民社会和官方的一个力量，它有它的一个角力的一个过程，就是它可以官方有权利把任何一个行为、任何一种思想定义为是激进的，定义为是危险的，但是除此之外，它还能够再去做一些什么。
In the lead up to the International Women's Day in 2015, the arrest of China's Feminist Five made world news.
5 women's rights activists in China have been held for a month on suspicion of picking quarrels and provoking trouble.
Actually meeting one of the Feminist Five, who are now out on probation, would be too risky for everyone involved. Instead, we got one of their activists, Tingting, to film herself answering our questions.
I, along with 4 other girls, we are detained because we plan to have a campaign to anti the harassment in public transportation. I was questioned over 40 times in the 30 days. They search all my email, they search my diary, even they read my diary to me, like say you said these words, which means you want to anti our government. Actually, I'm not. I think I'm really a good girl and a good citizen. I just want to do something good for our society. You know, in China, how can you not to be a feminist when you face so much discrimination and when you saw so much violence unequal to women? In my experience, domestic violence is a big issue for women to face.
According to the UN, more than 50% of Chinese men abuse their partners. And marital rape is not a crime in China.
I was a victim of domestic violence. My mother suffered domestic violence when I was young. So that's how I became a feminist. Despite the arrests, I choose to continue my fight. It's a hard time for us, but I think we have bright future.
Amnesty International estimates that 500,000 people are currently in punitive detention without charge or trial in China, and that surveillance, house arrest, and imprisonment of activists is on the increase.
The whole world knew the feminist five, right? I'm really hopeful that they will continue their fight. Today's consumerist culture, very oppressive to young men and women, even though against very harsh political reality and political environment. I still hope, yes, we'll see a lot more young feminists will emerge from this kind of social condition. And I'm quite hopeful. The early feminists, who joined the revolution, they experienced so much hardship. They already established all these mechanisms, policies, everything, social institutions, everything, but that can be dismantled. So right now, the generation of young women found themselves again in a worse situation than my generation, right? So they have to refight the battle. Every generation had to fight a battle. To pursue a society of justice and equality, everybody has to fight.